Ladies and gentlemen, Movies with Mark.
There we go.
There, all right, good. Now we're back in business. Good. Thank you. Nice to see you all.
You too.
Nice to see you.
I'm in confinement, COVID confinement, isolation.
Yeah.
5 days, but 3 of those days are up, I think. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you
They
count
start
the
to
days
blend
that you get
together.
the test. What?
They start to blend together too.
Well, they all do. Seems Saturday I got sick. Saturday I got tested, and then Sunday and Monday. So Tuesday. So I think I'm 3 days in. I think I only have 5 more days of isolation, and then I can go kiss
5
strangers.
days from a negative test, or 5 days from a fever, or something. I thought they said.
I think it's 5 days from your positive test. They've said.
In Multnomah County, it's 5 days from a positive test. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to get tested again on Monday, so I'll probably stay pretty much isolated until Monday. My
job
son's
makes you
in
do
the
10
house,
days.
and he's completely isolated because he's well. My brother did a home test, and he was negative. No, he was positive. That's this morning. So he's isolated in his corner, I'm in my corner, and Julius is in his corner, and I don't know how we're eating, but we're eating. We're eating through my hand. So anyway, so I probably sound a little throaty
Sexy.
because I am. And
you say sexy, Tom.
Well, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Tom
Sexy.
said you
it's
sound
like-
sexy.
It's good. Thank you. Thank you. I always wanted to sound sexy. Some woman from England once told me I had a deep brown voice, and I like that.
I do
But
too.
I was healthy then. I like that description.
You should sell voice messages right now. People
I
pay
could.
you to do their
Oh, yeah.
voicemail.
Yeah, if I
Yeah.
was entrepreneurial in that way, I would do that.
You know, you'd make a great voiceover for like one of those nature shows too.
But
Absolutely.
one of those what?
The nature
The nature
shows, you know,
shows?
to
Doesn't
narrate
Morgan
them.
Freeman have?
Yeah.
the-
Oh, I'd love to do like all those ones
No,
that Peter
Sigourney-
Coyote does.
Absolutely.
Sigourney Weaver just did one.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, she
was
did
nice.
one. Lots of people do them.
What movie
I
did
could
we
do
just
that.
watch? You could do it.
What? I should
I said
do
you
it?
could do it. You
Well, as
should.
soon as I'm done here, I'll go out and do it. It's just that easy for all you people, all you civilians. It's just that easy to get work. You just say,
It should
hey,
be.
I can do it. And they give you work.
There you go. So the
No.
movies,
My
the
sexy
rushes are
voice.
coming.
What?
What movie did we watch this week?
Excuse me. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. Emergency. Everybody to get from street. Emergency. Everybody to get from street. Alan Arkin is just my favorite actor. He's just so great. He's so precise. He's so clear. He's so nervous.
Young and handsome too.
And he was young and handsome. Yeah. And you know what he
Wait,
said
Alan
when,
Arkin played.
huh?
Which character was he?
The Russian lieutenant guy.
With the
Yeah,
mustache.
Alan Arkin is the lieutenant.
the
What's his name?
mustache.
Not Colchin. That's John Philip Law, of all people. What is it?
Lieutenant Rosanov.
Rosanov, yeah. God, sorry. The more I talk, the more this is going to happen. But it'll be all right.
Mhm.
Yeah, when he did not, I think he did not get nominated for an Academy Award for Wait Until Dark, which you haven't, if you haven't seen, you
I've
should
seen it.
see. Yeah, with Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah, she was blind, right?
What?
She was blind, right?
She was blind, and he
Yeah.
was trying to. She had something of his, and he wanted it back. Something that she'd gotten accidentally from her boyfriend, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. from 77 Sunset Strip. No,
Is
yes,
it FBI?
FBI, and
Yeah.
I think it's one of those other ones, like 77 Sunset Strip or something like that earlier. Yeah,
Maybe.
but he said, when somebody said, so why weren't you nominated for an Academy Award? He said, well, you don't get nominated for an Academy Award for scaring Audrey Hepburn. So and you don't, and he didn't, and I don't think he's ever been nominated for anything. But he's great in this. He's hysterically funny without being comedic. I mean, without trying to be funny. What's
Whose
that?
screen is that, Tom? Molly
What-
and Tom.
So anyway, this movie, I can't remember when it was made, but it was made. It was still the
1966.
USSR. 19 when?
66.
66.
Yep.
Wow, that was early. It was still the Cold War, obviously. It was still the Union of Soviet Republics, the USSR, back in the USSR.
You don't know.
And the story, what?
I said, you don't know how lucky you are.
You don't know how lucky you are, exactly. It actually made me want to be in Russia, because they're such nice people.
They're my people. That's my grandparents are from Russia.
Are from Russia? Good. Yeah. See, look what happens if the Russians get together.
So you loved this movie.
No, and not at
What?
first. It was. I found it. The accent reminded me of my grandmother. She's from Belarus, and when I would hear it, I was like, ugh. I was a little turned off by it, but I warmed up to it.
Right. Was your grandmother a mean person?
I know she didn't get along with my mother.
She was a little like your mother?
No, she didn't get along with my mother at all.
Oh.
They had to go to court for a public fight, fisticuffs.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
I know. I was too young to remember, but my mother told me that the judge said neither one of them should have been in there, and you should know better. She said to my mom, and then she said to my grandmother, "You definitely should know better." But my mom called her the witch. They
The
did
witch.
not get the witch. They did not get along.
Yeah. That's I'm really sick and tired of this bullshit.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man. Hope
yeah,
you feel
yeah,
better soon.
Yeah, I will. I know I will. That's really Russian. That's so great in Russian.
Yep.
And so un-American. I mean, and that's that's like this. The differences in this movie too. The Americans are although the Americans, Paul Ford is insanely funny. I think he's the guy we saw in the Mad World. I'm cleaning everything constantly because I must be able to give it to myself, right? Can I give it to myself?
I think once you have it, you have it. I don't think you're going to re-get it.
Well, maybe not. I hope not.
But it doesn't hurt to be in the habit of cleaning up the
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Other
Yeah.
people,
And you
may
don't have as
caught it
much
from
to-
your brother. He touched something and he had it, and then you touched something. As careful as you were, it's highly transmissible, and you got it, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I know. Yes, it is unfortunate. I know.
Yeah.
But anyway, the plot of this movie. Let's run the story down just for people who haven't seen it, because probably nobody's seen it unless they're as old as I am and lived through the Cold War. But the plot is a Russian submarine gets very, very, very close to an island off the coast of Massachusetts, I believe, because they call
Yes,
it
it
the
is.
Commonwealth. Yeah. Is there a Gloucester Island?
I
Ooh,
don't know that.
I don't think so. It looks the shape of the island on the map is a little like Martha's Vineyard, and it feels a little bit like Martha's Vineyard. Not as built up as it is now, obviously.
I definitely don't think those people are Martha's Vineyard type people that live there. No way.
Have you been to Martha's Vineyard?
I know some people that go to Martha's Vineyard. I have not been, but I know those types.
Well, Martha's Vineyard is a completely different people when those people go there than it is when they go home. Because they go home, like the sheriff says, I thought all the crazy people went home after Labor Day.
You're right.
Oh,
And the people who live there and service those crazy New Yorkers and Bostonians are like that. They're country people. They're descended from country people. They're New Englanders. But obviously, the movie takes liberty with that and really extrapolates on that New England, that classic stereotype, typical New England personality. And
I love those kind of people too.
Oh yeah,
They're my kind of people. I love them.
They put an army together like that.
I know. Well, that's the great thing. that I knew you would like. That the Americans, when it comes down to it, there's always a John Wayne around every corner.
I thought that guy was John Wayne too, the sheriff. He looked so much like him.
Brian
Sounded
Keith.
like him.
Brian Keith.
Yeah.
No,
He did sound like him too.
No,
He
from
did.
Family Affair, and the kid, the little Jody, the little boy, was also in the movie. They both starred in that series, Family Affair. The little boy, Johnny Whitaker, was in the movie as well.
Oh, the little boy, Carl Reiner's son?
Oh, no, he wasn't Carl Reiner's son. It was another kid that was in there. Little blonde
Sheldon
boy with
Collins.
curly hair.
Oh,
The one that
Johnny-
was
no kidding.
falling from the tower.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that
they don't have him listed here.
cut after
Yeah,
cut.
he's
of-
listed. If you just do all of them, if you do the entire cast, you'll see him. So
Okay.
that was another thing. Seeing Brian Keith, and then, I used to love him in a lot of things, but then seeing that, like, when he got sick, and then they apparently committed suicide,
Brian
and
Keith
his
did, no
daughter
kidding.
his daughter had committed suicide 2 months before, and then
Oh wow, there's a story there.
one of his friends, who is also an actress, what's her name? Maureen O'Hara, said there's no way that he committed suicide. He was a gun enthusiast, and it may have been cleaning a gun. So she said, I was with him right beforehand, and he was fine. So who knows what happened? But it's a depressing thing. I mean, his daughter committed suicide, and then he did, or maybe it was an
got
accident.
careless, right? Wow, I didn't
yeah.
know that.
Yep.
I think he's great in this film. The whole first thing when he gets the phone call from the
the operator.
the operator. Hold on just a second. But anyway, let's talk about the Russians that are coming.
Yes.
So it's made in 1966. It takes place during the Cold War. It's about a Russian submarine whose captain, Theodore Bickel, who is kind of a lunkhead, wants to see. He loves America and he wants to see America as close as he can. So he brings the sub. Everybody's telling him, "No, look, you're going to run aground. There's a sandbar here." It's showing him the charts and everything, and he runs the ship aground, and they get stuck on the island, the submarine, on the edge of this island. So he puts a boat ashore with 9 men. They go, and they're on the west end of the island, virtually uninhabited except by farmland. And they come on. And she's great too. Eva Marie Saint,
Still
and Carl-
alive.
huh? Still alive
97 years old.
and still beautiful.
Yep.
I just watched her the other night because my brother and I both love her in On the Waterfront, and she's so good in On the Waterfront, and she's so good in this. There's something about a thread in this movie that's so great about how the men always have to go first. Carl Reiner has to be the guy who has the gun, and Eva Marie Saint, and goes into the house first at the end to get the Russians, and Eva Marie Saint is the patient one. She's just patient. That's the woman's job in the 1960s, was to be patient. Thank God that's over, and now we can let the women
I don't
go
agree
first.
with that. I don't agree with letting the woman go first. I wish it was back in the 60s, frankly.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, William, but your time has passed.
I'm a caveman. What can I say?
We're moving on. We're moving on here.
It would be nice to have someone designated as not to spaz out, though.
As not to what?
Molly, it's to be patient and not spaz out when the Russians are there. You need
Everyone in this
somebody-
movie spazzed.
Yeah.
Well, no.
And they kept
Was it
exaggerating
Allison?
what was happening over and over.
Allison didn't spaz. She
The little
stayed-
blonde?
was the
Allison doesn't spaz. The
She
sheriff
stayed
doesn't
with
really
the
spaz
dreamy,
out.
dreamy
Okay.
Russian.
What?
she
She stayed with the dreamy Russian.
Oh, that's what you like?
Alexei.
That's dreamy to you? Is that what you like,
He was
Molly?
cute.
He's very
See,
cute.
no, you said he was dreamy.
And he's dreamy. Why
She
not?
thought
You
he
let
was
her
dreamy. She
lay
was-
next to you talking about another man being dreamy, Tom.
Yeah,
Now,
she's got no
see,
choice.
William, you are so old.
I am. Not as old as you.
No, you're not as old as me, but your brain is old. Your
I
brain is
know.
really,
Listen,
really
no,
atrophied.
I'm toying with them. No, they know better than that. I'm kidding, of course. All right, let's
so
get back
anyway,
to the movie.
So the Russians are coming, and the first people they run into are Carl Reiner, Eva Marie Saint, and their crazy son and their little tiny daughter, who just is sweet and smiles and waves at everybody, loves
Yeah.
everybody. And they're very
Just like
reasonable.
a
They
Cindy
listen
Lou
to their
Who.
story. What?
It's like the Cindy Lou Who.
Yes, she's the Cindy Lou Who, exactly.
She kept tearing down those steps, though, man, making a racket.
What?
She came tearing down those steps. Her main entrance when she came into the movie, that she was making a racket and got the Russian, her dreamy Russian, all freaked out.
Well, they were in the United States of America. They had every right to be terrified. They'd heard all the stories. They watched the John Wayne movies. They knew what they were up against, and they'd been told since they were born that Americans hate them. And lo and behold, they were right. Every other American on that island doesn't even care to listen. As soon as you say Russians,
Wait a minute.
I think they were just as scared. I read it as the dreamy Russian is talking to Allison on the beach, and he's saying how, you know, I grew up just knowing that you guys were the bad guys and you hated us and blah blah. And it felt like the Americans had grew up with the same thing. And
exactly.
But as they like got to kind of know, they were like, oh well, you're just people too, and you guys are just trying to get, you know, away from here, and you know, we can be, you know, friends.
Right.
I don't think, you know, I just felt like the movie kind of showed how misconceptions, you know, could be overcome, and like how,
if only life was like that now, because when the Russians helped to rescue that kid, it's like they all kind of became one. And it's like, we got to help you guys get out of here. And that's when the movie took a huge turn. Because, you know, like they were after them and they wanted to do harm to them. And then they saw they were like them, and we have to help these people get back to their boat.
The sort of wonderful thing about that scene, I think, is that they tell you that's coming right away. As soon as those two kids say, let's climb up to the steeple so we can get a better view.
Right.
You know, because it's a movie trope that the child brings everybody together.
Right.
I mean,
you knew something was going to
happen.
Part
of movie language. So you know that's coming. But then he takes this long time with these cut to the Russians with their guns, cut to all the Americans with the gun, and that great speech that Brian Keith gives where he says, you want us to be scared? Well, I'm scared too. And but you're going to find out just how scared we are, and without being John Wayne at that point, just being kind of reasonable and tired and a human, and they stand up for. They won't let themselves get blown away by the Russian submarine. Now we've said all the spoilers, but that's a great, and that's exactly the movie turns there. Everybody comes together because the child is in danger. They work together to save the child, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. Instead of fighting over masks or no masks, or vaccinations or no vaccinations, or the Packers or the Kansas City Chiefs, or any of that stuff. But
yeah, I couldn't agree more. We should try to come together and find common ground.
That's the idea. That's the thing that saves us.
Everything's so mean these days, though. I mean, seriously, you know, we really need to just try to not be so mean to one another.
We have to try to not be so mean. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
What did I just watch? Oh, in my COVID confinement, I'm watching a lot of stuff, and I just watched a wonderful movie with my old friend Joan Hackett called The Last of Sheila, and it's kind of about meanness in a way. And we just have to sort of not be mean. We have to realize we're all in this together.
That's it. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, with this movie, it was like the Russians had never met Americans, and the Americans had never met Russians.
Right.
They had never
we had an image of each other, and that's what we believed is the image.
And they were just scared of this image and what they had been told. But when they actually met them and like realized, oh, these are just people too. They're just trying, you know.
Right.
It was interesting. I liked that. Yeah. The way they did that.
No, it's good. It's like when and it's important to meet them, sit down and talk to them like people, and to read something, understand about their history. When the World Trade Center happened, 9/11, I heard so many people say, why do they hate us? Well, all you've got to do is look at about 200 years of history and you can see why they hate us, because they've been colonized, they've been utilized, they've been treated like garbage, and they've been ridiculed for their beliefs for several hundred years, more than 200 years. But by the West, they've been colonized and used by the West for 200 years, since the English, almost 300 years now, since the English went into to India and took over and ran it for cheap labor, so they could get cotton, so they could take over the cotton market. Anyway, enough of that. But yeah, if we talk to each other, if we learn a little about history, you can see why people feel the way they feel, and you can begin to empathize with them. And it is what makes us
Empathy is
human.
the key.
Empathy.
Yeah.
The humanity, yeah.
I said empathy is the key.
Empathy is the key. It's what makes us human. It is the key. It is the key ingredient to being a human being.
I have to say this though. The kid that played Reiner.
The dreamy guy? Who?
No, the kid that played Carl Reiner's son.
Yeah.
He turned on his dad right away when he thought he was being un-American and he wasn't standing up to him. And I love that about that kid. Who does that?
Daddy, you're a traitor.
Of course, right. You're a traitor. And then the mom corrects him. It's traitor. It was so freaking funny because it's like,
that's what he was taught.
I would always support my parents, whether I thought they were right or wrong. I would never dream of going against anything they said.
But you know what? All right. Well, I got to say something about Carl Reiner's character. He is that guy, because when the Russians went to take his car, he's like, well, I borrowed the car for the summer. There's not a lot of gas in it. And they couldn't even make it to town to get gas. He borrowed someone else's car and left it on E.
Like on purpose, because he wasn't going to have to. He wasn't going to have to deal with it.
They couldn't even take it to a gas station to get gas. That's the kind of guy he was.
Yep.
That was my thought too. Like, they couldn't have even gotten back to town to get more gas. Like, what were they doing?
I know that's one of the things that doesn't make any sense, unless there was a 5-gallon can of gas in the garage that they didn't tell him about to put it in. But you can
he
make
was
all
renting the car. He was renting the car, so he didn't care if it was empty.
Right. But how was he going to get to the airport? How was he going to get out of there? He had to drive. They were going to have to drive.
I don't know.
It's one thing you got to remember is it's not a documentary.
Yeah. So this movie, it had some interesting takeaways, but it was very, very farcical and like, it was a comedy in like the style of some of the other movies that we've been watching, where it's so over the top and everyone is so all over the place and doing a million things at once and no one will listen. You can't talk over, all of the different voices trying to figure out what to do. And everyone's just panicking and going like 10 different directions. So it's hard to follow and it kind of gives you a headache to watch. And it was so like over the top, the acting, which I kind of like. I kind of like that cheesy over the top. I enjoy.
Yeah, it was a bit much.
I enjoy that. It makes me laugh.
Do you watch any Marx Brothers movies, Molly, ever?
We did watch a Marx movie with this.
Yeah,
well, was it Jumpsuit?
If you really like it, it's a good way to find out how much you like it, because they're really
I don't like it that much.
Tom doesn't like it at all.
I didn't mind it.
There's a fine line.
Yeah.
Where it gets too chaotic and just like.
I think they're geniuses. The rhythm and the way that they work together, it's amazing what they do. If you have to appreciate them. And once you see what they're doing, how difficult it is, the timing, they're geniuses.
They are.
That's
indeed.
My opinion.
They are indeed. Well, and you're one of many who believe that. Of people who have watched them and studied them. The reason we're still talking about the Marx Brothers, the reason people still go like that and imitate Groucho, or people know who Harpo is because they're geniuses. And they were geniuses on vaudeville, and they were geniuses in Hollywood, everywhere.
Were? You saying they're dead? Oh my God!
No,
The ultimate spoiler.
You can watch them on DVD anytime you want.
Always there for you.
They're always there.
They will live on.
Can
They've
we
lived
talk
on.
about the drunk that was spent the entire movie trying to chase this horse down?
Oh, Ben Blue, remember him from? He's in Mad World, the one we watched and talked about last time. Yeah, Ben Blue. I don't really know much about him, but that's so great. Talk about vaudeville and talk about over the top. Him chasing that horse through the field for half the movie.
They kept randomly cutting to him.
Yeah, just cut to him, and and some just set shots where he's standing behind a mound of what looks like elephant dung, and the horse is way far away in the field, and then he's lying on the field crying, and the horse comes up and nuzzles his head, and he grabs the bride. No, it's hysterical. It's just so elegantly, like William said, what the Marx Brothers have is timing and rhythm, and they know how to harmonize together. But that Ben Blue working with that horse has a kind of, and I think of that as elegance. There's a kind of a physical and human elegance to that that's just completely acceptable and warms my heart. And my heart's cold right now because I have COVID.
No.
But yeah, Ben Blue, that whole segment is great. Everybody, and the disparate, the chaos that Molly's talking about, the differences of there's so many different personalities, and that's true in a lot of those New England towns. It was anyway. I mean, I think everything's gotten a lot more homogenized since 1966. But and we're all trying to act. We work hard to act just like everybody else and to come off just like everybody else. But the personality, Paul Ford, how does he live in that town day to day? Everybody knows who he is, and that's why everybody in New England just says, yeah, and that's all they say. That's a conversation. Did you talk to anybody today? Yeah, I talked to Paul Ford. All we did was go, yep. And then we were on, because you don't want to talk to him, because if you talk to him, you'll get an earful of a head full of boy, the war was great, wasn't it? We were so good in that war. Yep. What?
Yeah,
don't make eye contact.
Yeah, don't make eye contact. Don't connect. Don't talk to them. But he's hysterical, I think, because his responses to everything, all this braggadocio, and then anybody goes, what? And he goes, I didn't do anything. He cowers. He's hysterical. All the people in the town, Mrs. Foss, the not the first operator, but the second operator, the one that gets tied to Carl Reiner and has to hop around with Carl Reiner's face buried in her breast.
Her facial expressions were great.
It's so great. It's priceless.
We were talking earlier. She fainted to her so easily. They put a hand over her mouth and she passed out.
She felt the fainting come on, and he's like, "You got to get off the top of me first. Don't you faint?
Don't you pass
when
out
they rolled over."
How did they manage? You talk about the car being parked in the garage with not enough gas to even get into town. How did they manage when they're tied up back to back? How did they manage to flip around and get tied up face to face? It's the movies. They can do anything they want. But,
the chords were all.
But there's lots and lots of. There's lots and lots of gags like that, really vaudeville, really comedic gags, lots of pratfalls. Mm-hmm. But the thing for me that makes it work is the sincerity and the there's a word I'm going to try to use as much as I can now. The sinceriosity. The dreamy guy uses that word with her. I'm sincere. Yes, like he combines sincere and serious, and I think it's sinceriously. Okay. I have sincerely strong feelings for you, or something. He says it a couple times.
She was beautiful.
He was in a submarine for how many months? He'd have.
I know, but she was beautiful
for anybody that he walked up.
So
on.
She was beautiful. Oh my goodness! Stop it, Tommy.
It was lust. It wasn't love.
As soon as I saw him, I was like, "Oh, he's gonna fall for someone." Yeah, there's gonna be a romance here.
The handsome guy, and he's a sweet guy because he gets along well with Alan Arkin's character, so he's going to be a sweet guy because Alan Arkin's character is a sweet guy.
Yeah.
Tommy, speak with a German accent tonight. You'll be in, man.
No, Molly's Molly's uncle was a German or a submarine. He was on a sub, and when they get off shore, they're the craziest partiers there
They got
are.
a pocket full of money, and I saw some sailors beat up a cab. Yeah, they beat a cab and flipped it. They beat up a
They
cab.
go nuts being stuck down in those subs.
That was in Athens, Greece. I saw that. Yeah, we was talking about the horse and that guy. You worked with a horse?
Yeah.
You remember that in Animal House?
Yeah.
You fed him a little carrot through your mouth?
Right. I remember that. I was there. I remember.
That was
I was sober.
Was that you that fell off the horse, or that a stunt guy did that?
They wouldn't let me do it. They had a stunt guy do the fall. I did the fall off a ladder. The stunt guy did the drag on the horse.
Okay.
You said they wouldn't let you. You wanted to?
I wanted to. Yeah, I wanted to be the guy who says to the girl in the bar, "Yeah, I do all my own stunts, little lady."
Yeah, he would have said it from a wheelchair.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did all my own.
I don't know that I would wanted to do that.
I think I got this way.
What do you think you're, Tom Cruise?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll just take 1/10 of his money.
Well, Molly's a little exasperated over there. I mentioned Tom Cruise. What's the deal? You don't like him?
Me?
Molly. She looked exasperated when I mentioned Tom Cruise. I don't think she's a fan.
Are there any fans anymore? Aren't all Tom Cruise's fans in jail or something?
I like Tom Cruise.
I
think he's interesting. I think he puts out good movies. Come on, Officer, and what's the one with what was the name of that movie with Did You Order the Code Red? With Jack Nicholson.
A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men. How great was that movie?
Aaron Sorkin and Jack Nicholson make that a great movie. But Tom Cruise has very little to do with it.
Oh, I thought that scene where he brought that out of Jack Nicholson to tell him, yeah, I did order the Code Red. He flipped him, man. It was a great scene.
Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah, I understand he wrote it, but Tom Cruise played the part. What do you got against Tom Cruise?
When Nixon went to China in whenever that was, and opened up China, and he got celebrated for opening up China, and everybody said, "Oh, Nixon's a great president." I wrote a piece at that time that said, if a chimpanzee would have opened China, anybody would have opened China. It was the time for it to happen. That scene works because Jack Nicholson makes it work. Tom Cruise only had to say his lines, and good lines they were, because Aaron Sorkin's a good writer. Is Molly coming back? Right now, she's just a white star.
She's probably still there. She could probably still hear us.
Picking her nose.
Well, we're still talking about Tom Cruise. Maybe if we stop talking about Tom Cruise, she'll come back.
All right. No, but I have to agree with what you said about Jack Nicholson making that scene, but I thought they were both great.
Yeah, well.
I also like the guy, the comedian, Lieutenant Weinberg. He said it with such disdain.
Who was that, Paul Reiser? Who was that?
No, not Paul Reiser. What's the guy's name? He does a lot of great impressions. Let me see.
Rich Little?
No.
Talk about what did you just say? Oh, talk about great performances. What about Jonathan Winters in The Russians Are Coming? The Russians Are Coming.
Yes. Yeah, he was great.
Remember? Yeah, he's great. He's so funny. His face is so mobile, does so many things. He's amazing.
So
and he's
Kevin, I'm sorry.
He's in a mad world too. Right. Anyway, go ahead, William.
Yeah, he beat the shit out of everybody in that movie. Remember? Kevin Pollak was the guy I was thinking of.
Kevin Pollak. Is he a comic?
He is. He does great impressions,
Yeah.
Kevin Pollak. Yeah, he does a lot of good impressions.
Oh.
I think he was the first one to do Christopher Walken.
And Shatner, too. I mean, his Shatner.
Yeah, he did it when they were in Grumpy Old Men is when I saw him on like Letterman, I think. And he was the first guy I remember in like 92 doing Christopher Walken.
You see, those movies I love. Mathau and Lemon, Grumpy Old Men, and Grumpy Old Men. Did you find it Did you find it?
I love Grumpy
I love
Old
it.
Men.
Yeah. And Sophia Loren, you got Anne Margaret. I mean, how great was that?
Yeah.
I love those movies.
That Grumpy Old Men makes me laugh, and I really like it. This movie, and I think it's because of what Molly mentioned earlier, because of the way the Russians and Americans and the differences in the way they reconcile and why. this also makes me tear up and cry. I mean, it's sometimes not like sobbing, but just it makes me feel like, God, there's hope if we could all just do that. And these days, again with the Russians now in the Ukraine, and also with the terrorists who invaded the Capitol on January 6th, and the differences that we have, and COVID and everything like that. There's just that gets me. I get emotional about that. I'm moved by that, and that's what this movie does for me. Why I think I might like it in the long run more than Grumpier Old Man, although nobody should rank movies ever. But we do. But because it moves me. I mean, I'm touched by it. I'm even touched by the simplicity and the sincerity of this dreamy guy and the blonde girl, the blonde island girl on the beach, talking about their differences and getting to know each other and just sort of getting to know each other like animals, young animals get to know each other. Like, what's your name? When he tells her his name, and she plays with the name in her mouth and tells Alexei, and then tells him her name. That simple exchange of names is such a really lovely gesture of let's be friends instead of enemies. I don't know. It's nice. I like it. It moves me.
Then it goes to him talking about, well, if I go to prison.
Right. Will you come and see me?
Well, will you come and see me? And then when I get out,
the language difference is great. What he has to do to shape sentences the way he with the way he thinks with the Russian language and get it into Americanese, like sinceriosity or sinceriously. That's what it is. Sinceriously. Excuse me. I'm going to drink water. I'm talking too much.
Russian being my first language, which I don't remember, but that's what my grandparents spoke in the house, and that what they were speaking. Yes. And my mom, when my mom worked, I stayed with my grandparents, and she's like, I couldn't understand a word you were saying. So then she taught me English too, but I spent more time with my grandparents when I was small. But this is the thing, listening to that, do you know if that was actually Russian? Because to me, I don't think it was, from what I remember hearing Russian as a small child.
I don't know. I assume that they wouldn't cheat me on that and do gibberish. It didn't sound like gibberish.
It just said speaking Russian.
And the subtitles just said, it didn't say what they were saying. It just said speaking Russian, like for the whole beginning of the movie.
Yeah, the whole beginning, they weren't speaking any English. And they weren't
for the longest time.
And you're like, what is this goofy dude keep looking through the thing? It's like, what the hell's going on here?
Just for having to use the visual cues and
It was a rough start, I thought.
What they were doing.
The first 10 minutes of that movie, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to like this. I haven't seen him say one thing, and it's just all this goofiness going on. But that's how it started off with me. But it took a turn as you watch it. But it was a rough start for me.
Yeah, they don't start right out with a pratfall. They make it difficult to begin with. You have to sort of you have to watch, and you have to listen. You have to learn how the movie thinks.
And there was a lot of yelling.
I understand what you're saying, because that first 10 minutes, you don't know what's going on. You don't know where they are. You don't know what they're doing. I did, because I'd seen it before, but I realized that you do find out through pantomime. So you can understand what another person's doing if you just be patient and listen.
Well, Carl Reiner kind of assumed how they got there, so he kind of told the story of it a little later on in the movie when he saw them. Oh, you guys ran into a sandbar. You've run aground. That's what the problem is. And then you understood it. Yeah.
Because he listened to what they said when they could. All of a sudden, I thought it was a little magical thinking when they suddenly could speak English.
Right.
And as well as they could. I mean,
like the two of them.
What?
There were like the two of them that could speak English, really, out of the whole group, I think.
Yeah, they seemed to be the only ones that could speak it, and speak it.
And then he was coaching the other ones on how to say
emergency. Everyone to get from streets. Yeah, I love that. That's the part I remember the most. I don't know why. My son, I think, when I first showed it to him when he was about 8 or 9, had a great time with that. He went around the house for a couple of days saying, "Emergency, emergency! Everybody will get from street." Funny.
Well, you're talking about the way that this movie makes you feel, and yeah, this movie was.
She froze up again.
And like,
I think we're having internet issues. Mine keeps freezing up too.
Oh, sorry.
He's back. You're back.
I was just saying it was a little farcical and all over the place, but there was that one moment where, you know, all the Russians had rushed off the sub to go and help the kid, and they're making their pyramid, which was dangerous in its own. I'm like, you couldn't have found a different way to, like, come on.
And he looks so far away. It's like they'll never make it to him. And then we're not high enough. We need more people. It's like
more men.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But it was like that whole moment, and like the captain is on the sub watching with like bated breath and going like, "Oh, the kid," you know. But
I know suddenly he changes completely.
They didn't even notice. I mean, the Russians seemed to just instinctually do it. And the Americans didn't even notice that the Russians were in there helping them until the end, when the kid was, and then they all looked around at each other and noticed that they were all, you know, together working around. And then they were like, oh, well, you know.
Very touching.
I was grinning like from ear to ear at that scene. I was, you know, it definitely made me feel
Tommy
like...
was sobbing. Were you sobbing, Tommy?
I was a little sad. Well, I know Molly was confused.
That
on
kind
the
of
pyramid.
rapprochement makes you sad, huh? When people get along.
Schmaltzy. It's schmaltzy.
Molly, when they were doing the pyramid so klutzy because they were on like a time limit. They didn't know how long that kid's pants were going to hold. So you got to go as fast as you can.
And also the Russians were on the metric system, so it was different kind of.
Yeah, they didn't know.
Well, I was just thinking, get a ladder, or if they had, you know, gone from the inside up and like. Well, but if someone had gone from the inside up and like grabbed him from like the inside, they might have gotten to him faster.
They did. They said we need a rope, and then they abandoned that idea because they thought they had to get there quicker, and or getting a rope and letting somebody down from the top of the steeple to grab the kid and bring him back up. This other bunch of other on the other, but they would have had to go find a rope, and they didn't know how. So they did the most immediate thing. They did I guess maybe it's a Russian thing or an American thing, or maybe it's the thing people do. They do the quickest. They take the quickest exit. If the quickest exit is out the second story window, let's go out that window.
But the last guy that had to reach out and grab the kid, I'm like, how is he going to hang on and grab the kid and get back down? Like,
and then how is that the gutter? How is that gutter, Tom? If I hung off your gutter, that whole side of that house would come down.
Yeah, that's coming down.
Yeah,
there ain't many gutters
started coming off.
Jeez.
But I mean, holding him also. I mean, it's a man with a kid on his back.
But that also had you like on the edge of your seat, going, "Oh no!" Like,
no, it's well built, and it's got holes in it. Of course, it has holes in it. It's a movie, but there. I mean, the kid. He gets the kid to put his arms around his neck, and then he flips the kid around to the back, and the kid holds on.
Yeah.
While he's flipped around to the back. So but you know, if you want to find little nitpicky things like that and let it make you not like it, go ahead, find your own corner and play with yourself. But I think it works.
I didn't say it made me not like it. It's just it made me question it, going, I still enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a movie. It's just a story.
Of course. It was a good feel. That was a good part of the movie, though. I mean, when everybody came together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It made me cringe because I'm like, oh no, that's going to be really dangerous.
We should make more movies. We should make more movies like that now for people to see.
I was thinking that too when I watched it. I wish there was a movie. I wish I could come up with a story that would bring, bring people together, because I think it does. Yeah. I mean, it asks people to come together, and it does. I don't know if it does or not, but or I don't know I don't know how successful it was at the time. But it would be if we made more movies rather than blowing people up and shoot. They shoot a lot of guns and they shoot a lot at people, but nobody hits anybody. And now, of course, they say we're wasting ammunition. In the movie, they say we're wasting ammunition when they're shooting at the boat as it's disappearing. Now, of course, somebody would have to make a comment about how you're polluting the ocean because they've closed shooting ranges on Chicago, coast to Chicago, because that Molly, you have symptoms. Go get tested.
No, I'm fine. I just swallowed down the wrong.
Okay. You all right? You need some water?
I swallowed the wrong way. I'm good.
Okay. Go get some water.
She just wanted a little attention. Tom, give her some attention.
I got a little bit of soda left.
Well,
all right.
Let's do the rating.
Rate it. Yeah.
Is it 1 to 4 or 1 to 5? I forget.
5.
1 to 5.
Okay.
5.
All right.
You go first, William.
Well, as I say, I didn't like the beginning, the way they eased into it.
Yeah.
And for that, I'm going to deduct some points. But it was one of those movies where at first I'm like, I don't think I'm going to like it. There was a lot of yelling, and it was yelling in a different language, and I wasn't finding it entertaining at first. But it quickly got better and better, and you become invested in the people. Like you said, the little girl, when she came down, what a sweetheart. And then the dreamy guy, of course, he wasn't going to hurt anybody. He didn't want to hurt anybody. So it's like when they all came together, it touched me. It was good. I mean, that part, it's like, yeah, we need more movies like this. We need more movies where people come together.
Yeah.
And Hollywood, if you're listening, Tom, maybe we should write one for Mark to star in.
Oh, we can just redo Rocky 4. They all come together on the final.
So speaking of that, Rocky 4, I give it a 4.
You give it a 4. Okay, good.
I give it a 4.
Good guess, Tom. Molly,
Right.
We'll go counterclockwise. Were you hoping we'd go clockwise?
She usually gets to go first.
Go.
You want to go last?
You want to go last?
No.
It's okay. So
okay.
I enjoyed the movie. I at the beginning too was like, this is, but I knew that it had to be just part of the buildup for the movie,
right?
And just the way it was intended. So I was, and knowing that it was a war comedy, I was like, well, kind of knew what I was gonna get into.
And remember when it was made in 1966?
Yeah,
it was still the Cold War. I mean, I don't think we were any longer hiding under our desks in school and doing those kinds of drills.
No, we were, because in 66, I was 8 years old and I was hiding under my desk.
Yeah, I was in college by that time, and we were beyond fear. We had drugs. We were beyond fear. But so that opening, and I understand your qualms with it because you don't quite understand what's going on. But I think it might have struck a different chord at the time because Americans were very aware of the Russians and are very, very aware of the fear of the Russians. And they might have perked up to that sound and to the awareness that this was a Russian submarine. Anyway, go ahead, Molly.
I'm not knocking it for the way it started. That was my experience as
I got you. I'm just trying to explain, it's good to watch movies from your own point of view, but it's also good to sort of be able to put them in the context of their history and the context of what how the movie is talking. So that, I mean, it's like people coming together. You have to listen to other people and acknowledge what they're saying and the feelings about what they're saying. And a movie's like, like being with a person. Anyway, go ahead.
I enjoyed it. I mean, it was a little over the top, but I think that was it was intended. That was the way it was intended to be, and I think that it worked. I really did end up enjoying this movie a lot, and I didn't want to step on Tom, and I know that an observation that he made as well that I thought was interesting was with everyone in this town coming together and like everyone had guns. And there were a couple points where they said, all right, anyone that's armed, go here, and anyone that's unarmed, just do this. And there was no one that was not armed. Everyone had a gun.
And as soon as the unarmed people were left in town, what is what's his name? The deputy, the guy's name I'm blanking on right now.
They opened the bar.
Funny guy. What? Oh, well, they opened the bar. But then he said, everybody go, who's got guns? Go get your guns. They armed themselves right away. They were supposed to stand down unarmed, but they armed themselves. Yeah, everybody's got a gun. But nobody had an AK-47 or an AR-15 or 16
And then the
of
first
them.
thing they do is open the bar. But
yeah, open the bar.
I just thought, that's interesting because that's one of the things about, Americans and how they'll come together and defend, even just these simple townsfolk.
Right. No, that's wonderful the way they all came together and instantly formed a militia, and not a malicious militia, but a militia to defend their homeland, their people, their country, their land, their businesses against a threat, real or imagined. In this case, imagined. And excuse me. Anyway, won't no more politics about it. But anyway, so what do you give it?
I think I'd give it a 4 too.
Good. Tom?
All right, this movie.
You've been so strangely quiet.
You said that last time. I'm just loving it. This
what do you
movie,
work for McDonald's now?
I have loving it. For about 3 years, I've worked at a McDonald's.
Oh boy,
I'm like 14 to 17.
And Dairy Queen, he knows the recipe for the awesome. Was it the pumpkin shake?
Yeah, the pumpkin pie blizzard. It's real good.
Oh,
anyway, you should try one next time.
There will never be a next time for me at McDonald's. I'm sorry.
Or Dairy Queen?
Oh yeah, no.
Pumpkin blizzard?
No,
the
I'll
pumpkin
go to
blizzard
Sonic,
from Dairy Queen.
See, this is why I didn't interrupt Molly on hers. Somehow she's got me talking pumpkin blizzard recipes.
I'm sorry.
How did you get me on pumpkin blizzards? Okay,
I don't know.
I'm gonna give it a 4. I never got bored during the movie, but I did notice some of the camera shots were just like they were way zoomed out, watching them cross the beach, and they're way out there going about this fast. And I'm like, they're not going to let them go until they're out of the camera angle, are they? And about a minute and a half of them, and it was like, we could have sped that up. We could have done something a little quicker. Some of the scenes were just a little drawn out. I really did like the subtle comedy, like trying to find the keys in the lady's purse. Took 4 people to find the keys. So it was really funny. It's a lot of times it didn't stick with the comedy. I don't even want to call it like a comedy. It was because it was an entertaining family movie, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I mean, would you consider it a comedy or would you call it like just a family movie?
I think if there was such a thing as a video store anymore, and you went in there to find a comedy, you would find The Russians Are Coming on that shelf.
Okay.
It's foolish to try to categorize everything as either comedy or drama. Mm-hmm. Will Ferrell makes just comedies, and I find them very boring for the most part. I think he's incredibly talented, but those movies that are trying so hard to be funny, I'm being funny until they're off the screen way at the other end, like those guys crossing the beach.
Mark, I'm with you. I don't think Will Ferrell's made a funny movie since like 2004.
Yeah, probably.
William, you're muted.
What? Oh. What?
William's talking, but he's got himself muted.
I didn't hear what you said.
I said William's talking, but he's got himself muted.
Oh, he does. He has. Oh, maybe he doesn't want us to hear him.
Nope, he can't figure it out.
No, he didn't.
I didn't mute you, William. It's on your end.
Done it by mistake. Okay.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You got it.
Just saying, Will Ferrell. I love Step Brothers.
Yeah, I know you do. I'm sure you do.
Step Brothers.
What?
It was 2008.
Step Brothers. Okay, but that was a great movie.
Okay.
I liked it.
Step Brothers was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
But a lot of his stuff is just so similar. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Step Brothers, I liked, but
I think he's very talented, and I think he's very funny in his own right. His piece, his Broadway show on George W. Bush is really good. I think. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
I have.
there's
It
a
was
film
on
of it.
HBO.
Yeah, it's very good. And Step Brothers, I find that I think it's funny. I love John C. Reilly. I love him. I think they work well together. But I find it very angry. I find Will Ferrell, for the most part, very angry. And as opposed to this movie, where I think Norman Jewison and whoever wrote it, I don't remember, and all the actors in it, are not acting from an angry place.
No, I think Richard Jenkins was the one who was angry in Step Brothers.
Which one was he? Was he the father?
He was the father, yeah.
Well, as a character, but that's the character that as written. He's playing the character as written. What I'm talking about is the heart and soul of the movie. Again, I think movies have to be watched like they're people, where they're not just. It's not reality. It's something that was written. It was something that was created by a bunch of people, and those people are all, if they're good movies, they're all working towards the same end, and they're all working from the same heart, or the same core of emotion. And that's what I think. And I think I would argue this if I had more time and my throat wasn't sore and I had a little more familiarity, I would talk for a long time with you, William, about Will Ferrell's anger and how it may be the center of his comedy, as opposed to somebody like Robin Williams, who isn't really angry at anybody ever. He's just lost and alone and desperately trying to find somebody to listen to him.
I think most comics have anger. I think most of them do, myself included. And I think it drives you out onto the stage in a lot of cases.
I think in a lot of cases that's true. I think in a lot of cases the anger dominates.
Okay,
I think comedy. I understand why comedians say, "I killed," or say, "I died," because it's a life and death situation. I know it is. I know that's true. I know how scary it is to go on stage by yourself and without music behind you, without a band behind you, without anybody behind you. It's just you and a mic and a light, and you're responsible for how everybody's evening goes.
Yep.
And it's a big deal. I get it. And I think a lot of people go there because they do have anger in them and they want to solve that anger, or they want to expiate that anger. Lewis Black, who's a friend of mine, we've talked a lot about how comedians are in a lot of ways the sacrificial lamb. They will go up on stage and they will say the things that people can't say or won't say or don't quite know how to say. They will expose a part of themselves that for people. They will do it as almost as a sacrifice for other people, for the people in the audience, and allow them to laugh at themselves, to laugh at each other, to laugh at situations. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld's comedy is so observational, and you have to be able to get a laugh out of yourself in order to, unless you just don't enjoy it. And I'm sure there are people who don't enjoy it. I mean, after all, he's Jewish.
Well,
I'm just kidding. Am I angry?
That is not angry. I don't find that from Jerry. There are a few that aren't angry, but for the most part, and the ones that I know, it drives us, but you have to control it. You have to try to make it funny. There's a reason why you want to get up in front of a crowd full of strangers and try to make them laugh for whatever reason that brought you to that point, because most people's greatest fear is getting up in front of an audience. And for some comics, that's trying to overcome that fear.
I know. Oh, I know. I think
what you just said, though, it's brilliant. I hope that comics will watch this and maybe they'll understand themselves a little more. Thank you for that, because that made perfect sense.
Thank you. And I do think, just as a coda to that, I do think that the most successful comedic actors, comedic people, are ones that turn away from that anger that may generate them at the beginning. But guys like Chaplin, guys like Buster Keaton, guys like the Marx Brothers are really, it's more about generosity to when I see it than it is about anger. It's about generosity, and it's about, and it's corny, but it's about love, and it's about bringing people together.
Well, Three Stooges was a lot of anger.
Three Stooges is a lot of anger, and they're very
and violence. Oh my
true.
God, hilarious though.
That's why it's a mad world. All they have is a pan.
I know, it was great seeing them. It really was.
Yeah. So I'll give it a 4 too, maybe a 4.25 since everybody else gave it 4, just because I picked it and I really liked it and it made me cry and it made me laugh out loud.
It might have been the COVID.
And well, it could. I know I'm weakened.
When you're not feeling well,
and
you
tears
get a little
tears
emotional.
are a sign of weakness too, aren't they?
No, I don't. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say it. But what I'm saying is, when you're not feeling well, I understand
it's
it because you're
easier
in a weakened state. It's easier because you're in a weakened state. And look, I know the only time that I can remember my mother being nice to me was when I was sick. So when I get sick and I don't have my mom anymore, it makes me sad.
Aww.
So I get out on stage again without anger. But I mean, that's one of the things that drives me, because I used to look forward to getting sick because I would get special attention.
Right. But you didn't. Did you get sick just to get attention?
No, of course not. And I wasn't. I mean, I had asthma and things like that. No, of course not. Of course not. No. But I would hey, I'm getting sick. I would look at the bright side of it. I would get sick.
Yeah.
I kind of
Mom's gonna take care of me. Yeah.
There's so many other people in that house. It's and she's gonna be sweet. She'll put a little aspirin in your soda, when you take it, and just give you things, and you'll put a little rag on your head, just take such good care of you. And then when you're sick and your mom's not there anymore, it sucks. And then so if you feel like you might want to cry, I understand.
See, I've been doing it right. Every time I get sick, I bring Molly to my mom for training sessions. So when my mom dies, Molly can.
This is how you do it.
Oh, God forbid. But it's true. And she said, Molly, she's your mom's complaining you're not taken to the training very well. She said you got lead in your ass. So
no one can do it like his mom.
I know. That's true. Let's hope she's around for a long, long time. Yeah. We love her. We'll have to have her back on the show. She's great.
Don't tell her that.
Oh, come on. She knows she's great.
She's got a big head.
Well, she should have a big head. She's great. She's funny. She's hilarious. We should schedule her.
Yeah, let's watch a movie for her.
Yeah.
How about, speaking of that, weren't we talking about Raging Bull? We said that should be the next movie with the great Robert De Niro and Marty Scorsese.
We have been talking about
Joe Pesci. Who is the one that played his wife? What's her name? The blonde.
What's her? An Irish name, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank right now.
She opened a chain of pizza parlors after that movie.
Really?
Yeah. What's her name? Moriarty. Kathy Moriarty.
Oh, Kathy Moriarty. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's a great movie, a brilliant movie. And I told you my Raging Bull story, didn't I?
Not sure. Would you?
Oh, I thought I told you the story. Yes. So I got to look at the budget, or a friend of mine got to look at the budget, and he told me that there was an item in their budget, and they made most of it on the lot in California, in Los Angeles, on the back lot at MGM, United Artists, MGM, they shared a lot. And there was a $19,000, and this was 1970 something, right? 77, 78, 79. $19,000 item in their budget for snow tires.
Oh yeah, I think you did tell us this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, now I remember what the snow tires were.
You did.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did tell us.
What we used to call nose candy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever work with Louis Anderson though? Rest in peace.
No, I didn't. I never did. I don't.
Did you see his performance in Baskets where he played the guy's mother?
In what?
In the series Baskets on FX. So he played Zach Galifianakis' mother. He played a woman.
Really?
A sweetheart. Look, You should try. I'll see if I can find a clip and send you. What a sweet lady he was. There was, I think he won an Emmy for it.
I know who he is, and he's a comic that I would think may have been motivated originally by anger, as you say.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
He managed it. He managed to turn the corner on it because he seems like the heart and soul of his comedy, of himself, seems to be very sweet and generous. I
met him in Las Vegas. A friend of mine who opened for him brought me to the show. We watched the show, and then I got to meet him after. He's a sweetheart of a guy. Really was.
Yeah. Oh, I'll bet he was. I'm sure he was. Yeah. Yeah. Good guy. How'd he die?
Lymphoma. Pretty sudden, I think. I don't know. Maybe he was sick and he knew about it for a while because they just announced it, and then boom, he was gone a couple of days later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, my ex-wife, he died, and right before him, who else died?
Bob Saget.
Bob Saget died, but then there was somebody in between.
Meatloaf.
Betty White.
Meatloaf.
Betty White. Yeah, Betty White, and then what's his name? Louis Anderson.
And Meatloaf.
And Meatloaf. That's what my ex. Boy, they just are dropping like flies in 2022, aren't they?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, we're coming to the end of the world, people.
I believe that. I'm starting to think it. It seems like
speaking about the end of the world,
up. Evil is ramping up.
Evil is ramping up. Yep, and ignorance is ramping up too. Really up. And that's an evil. Evil is really comes out of ignorance. But speaking of which, if you want to see something that's over the top and obviously funny, but really truly very funny and satirical, watch Don't Look Up on television.
I've heard that that's good.
I heard it's good.
It's very good. A lot of it,
right? I love Meryl Streep.
Yeah, me too.
Meryl Streep's great playing the president.
Yeah, she's great.
She's always great. I don't think I've ever seen anything I didn't like her in.
Yeah, no, she's very good. And
I loved her in that Albert Brooks movie where they were dead.
Which one was that?
Albert Brooks, they were dead, and they were trying to get into heaven. Like if you didn't live a good life, or if you had fear, you'd have to go back and try it over. And she was, and they kind of fell in love. It's a great. Let me see what the heck the name of that is.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a good movie, and talk about the end of the world and how do we face the end of the world, how do we deal with it. It gives you some good ideas about how to deal with the end of the world.
I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, no, I think it's you'll balk at it here and there because it is so obviously funny and so sort of heavy-handedly funny in some ways, but it's very clever. Even in its heavy-handedness, it's very clever. And it also the last 20 minutes of it, when the world is coming to an end because of a asteroid that's going to hit it, is moving. It's very moving. I recommend it.